Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends Spider-Man Vintage Wave Daredevil. And this is really cool because this is the first time that we've ever had this version of Daredevil in 6-inch form. And I've always been a big fan of this look for him, even though, to be honest with you, I can't remember if I've ever read a comic where Matt was dressed up like this. I just kind of remember it from trading cards and things like that. But I've always been a big fan of the way it looks. I even tried to make a custom of this look out of a DC UC figure back in the day. I never finished it, but luckily that doesn't matter now because Hasbro came through and it looks like they gave us a badass version of this look for Daredevil. So I'm excited about this, but let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the packaging. Obviously the packaging is based on the action figure line that accompanied the animated series from the 90s. It looks very cool. We're able to see the figure right here with all the accessories that he comes with. We get some artwork of Daredevil that looks cool, and then I love the Spider-Man text up here with Spidey hanging out on the top of the letters. I think that's really dope, very reminiscent of the animated series itself, so that's cool. And then on the back we get a look at all the other figures in the wave. Right here it shows us how we could swap Daredevil's head, and I really like this because back in the day they would have like the action feature of the figure shown like this, so that is really cool. And then we have a super short biography as always, and this always cracks me up, but right here it says, although he is blind, Matt Murdock possesses superhuman senses and courage as a superhero Daredevil. And it just feels so lazy just to have one line. I mean, look at all this bullshit down here. Look at all this text and lettering and all that stuff that no one's ever gonna read. I understand it's probably like a legal thing to have this stuff, but make it small and give us some more information on Daredevil. There's new generations of people that don't know who Daredevil is, especially young people. I mean, obviously he's a very popular character, but you know, there's young people that aren't going to be aware of Daredevil like some of us older people. So it would be cool if you're a young kid and you see this figure, you think it's cool, and you turn it around to read a little bit about him and you get some information, you know, not just this little bullshit. Like, come on. But anyways, enough about that. I always cry about that, but I love the way the packaging looks. But let's go ahead and rip this figure out and take a look. So here we have Daredevil right out of the packaging, and I'm going to tell you guys right off the top, this is an awesome figure, and it really feels like someone over there at Hasbro has a lot of love for this version of Daredevil because they really went all out with this thing, and I'm super impressed with the amount of sculpted detail that they actually have on this figure. Originally, I thought a lot of these red parts were just going to be painted on, but they're not. Like down here at the knee, this is all sculpted details. Same thing here at the elbow, and that's crazy because they really didn't have to do that. They could have painted this area and it probably would have been just fine, but they went the extra mile and actually sculpted all that work on there. So that's crazy because I don't really see them getting a bunch of reuse out of the parts here. I mean, they could probably get creative with it and figure something out, but it feels very specific to this character, you know? So I can't imagine what else they would do with these parts, especially like the torso, you know? But yeah, they went all out with this thing. And it's crazy because, to be honest with you, I don't think that this is the most popular version of Daredevil, you know? Like, I don't think there was a lot of people asking for this version. Of course he has his fans, people like me, you know, that remember him from when I was a kid. You know, he's got like a more extreme kind of vibe to him. He has armor. He feels very 90s. So for those kind of people, they're gonna dig it. But aside from that, people like the classic version of Daredevil and even like the first appearance. I love the first appearance in Shadowland and all those kind of things. I feel like this one doesn't get mentioned that often. So it's very cool that Hasbro came along and took like an obscure version of a character and just went all out with it. And they just killed it, man. They did a great job with it. Check them out. Look at all that metallic red and all that. It looks really, really good, but let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at all these sculpted details that I'm talking about. So taking a closer look at all the awesome details on this figure, starting off with the head, I think this is a pretty decent Daredevil head sculpt. There's not a whole lot going on with the mouth area, like the skin tone is a little bit plain, but I think it looks okay. The rest of the head looks really nice. I love that the eyes have a metallic red look to them. That is super dope. And then you have the horns on the top of the head. And then when you come around to the back of the head, you have the little red details here, which are sculpted. These aren't just painted on. So that is really, really impressive. And then moving down here into the neck, all that red part is sculpted. Once again, it's not just painted. I'm going to be saying that over and over because I'm just really surprised at all the sculpted detail on him. But yeah, all that is sculpted. Then down into the chest armor here, this looks really nice. I love that metallic red. And then we have the DD on the chest there that looks nice. These things kind of look out of place here, the shoulder pads, because they have a plastic look and the rest of the figure has such a shiny, nice, realistic metallic look. And then you get to these things and they have like a very plastic, plain kind of feel to them. So I do wish that they had a bit of a more metallic look. I think that would have looked better, but as is, you know, they're fine. It's not like it's a distraction or anything, but man, look at that red. I really, really love that. And then moving down into the arms, look at this, right here in the elbows. All that is sculpted. There's sculpted lines all right there. Even like over the joint here, the little triangle piece is sculpted. Crazy. The forearm has a bunch of sculpted details. And then we have the, well, I don't know what you want to call it, the little bracelet thing that has the billy club attached to it. And it's a loose floating piece, but as you could see, you could kind of see it right here. There's a bit of an indentation in the arm. So this thing isn't going to be sliding around or anything like that. Let's go ahead and pull this off real quick. Boom. So see, check that out. So you have this on here and it's not going anywhere. Like Hasbro needs to do this every single time, because that's one thing that drives me crazy about some of their figures. They have the loose belts and things like that, and they're like moving all around. They're very annoying. But in this case, this thing is going to stay right where you want it because of that little indentation. So that is, again, super, super cool. And then moving down onto the torso here, once again, all these little red pieces are sculpted and they do look very, very nice. They all have that metallic red to them. Moving down into the legs, let's look at the side of the legs. All this is sculpted. Again, right here, this is where I get really impressed and kind of blown away, because they could have gotten away with just painting this. I'm so happy that they didn't, but you know, in the past, that's what I feel like they would have done. But here, they went ahead and sculpted it. It's like, man, crazy. They need to do this every time, like on every figure going forward. They need to put this much love and detail into it. Over on this side, the paint is a little iffy on the knee pad, but I could touch that up with no problem. But the knee pad little things are sculpted, so that's cool. The lower leg, all this detail is sculpted. Look at that. These are sculpted. Then on the back, we have these red pieces. Again, you know, I'm gonna say it, they're all sculpted. But yeah, how cool is that? It's really like on another level as far as Hasbro figures go. And as far as the accessories go, he actually comes with a pretty good amount of stuff. So first off, we have two different sets of hands. We have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of gripping hands. And then he also comes with interchangeable wrist guards. And this is really cool because you could either display them with the billy clubs attached to the wrist guards, or you could take those off and put the wrist guards on that don't have anything, and then you could have them hold the billy clubs. And the billy clubs are okay, but they're the same things that we've seen pretty much with all the other Hasbro Daredevil figures. They're okay, but they're kind of big and awkward looking. So I'm probably just going to display this Daredevil with the billy clubs attached to his wrist guards. But I love that we have the option to change that out. In addition to the head that we looked at a little bit earlier, he also comes with an unmasked Matt Murdock head. And this one kind of had me worried for a second, because I almost thought that it was just a repainted Scott Summers head from the Lover's Triangle 3-pack. And it turns out that that's not the case. Here's a look at those two heads. And as you can see, they're completely different. So I'm very happy to see that. Because, again, in the past, Hasbro would have repainted this and just made it Daredevil's head. But I'm so happy to see that that's not the case. And they really killed it with this Matt Murdock head. I really like the facial expression. I like how he looks pissed off, serious, ready to go to war in the courtroom kind of thing. So that's really cool. I love the red glasses. I like the red hair. There's not a whole lot of paint going on there, but it still looks really good. The sculpting work on it is very nice. Look at all that. So really good work on the hair and on this head sculpt in general. And for anybody that was curious, you are able to put the unmasked Matt Murdock head onto the Hasbro suited body. This one here is Everett Ross, and as you can see, it looks really, really cool. So you could very easily make yourself an attorney Matt Murdock figure. I will say though, this head does look like it's a little bit big, not big enough to be a distraction. And I think in most cases, it's gonna work just fine. From most angles, it'll look all right. But it does feel like it's slightly too big, because it was made for this body, which is a bigger body than the suited body. So, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but I think it works well enough and it looks awesome. So, you know, I've always wanted a good like attorney Matt Murdock, and I think we have one here. I know that we've already received a unmasked Matt Murdock head with the Walgreens exclusive first appearance Daredevil, but it wasn't very good. So this one is way better than that one. I don't even know where I have that figure, but I have no idea where it's at. So we're not going to see a comparison between the two Matt Murdock heads, but this one is way better. And then if you want a casual Matt Murdock, you could go ahead and throw the head onto the Peter Parker body, and that works too. But once again, like I said, it's a little bit big, but again, in most cases, I think it'll work just fine. And yeah, that's dope right there. You got a casual Matt Murdock hanging out doing his thing. But yeah, I really like this Matt Murdock head, so it's cool that they finally gave us a good one. And then here's a quick look at the Matt Murdock head on the Marvel Legends Daredevil figure. And I think this looks pretty good, but I've never been a huge fan of this Daredevil figure because, I don't know, by the time this figure came out, I was kind of tired of this body. So I really wish that they put it on either the Sunfire body, or I'd even like to see it on the new Spider-Man body, actually. I think that would kind of work. And the articulation would be awesome for Daredevil, so that would be cool. But for now, this is what we have, and I do think this looks pretty cool. And then in case anyone's curious, here's a look at the Matt Murdock head on the Mezco Daredevil figure. And it doesn't pop on or anything, but it does look cool on there. But as you can see, it's just kind of hanging out there. So you need some like blue tack or something to make it stay. But I think that looks pretty good. And now for some size comparisons, we have Daredevil alongside the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Vintage Wave, Peter Parker, and Spider-Man. And these three figures are my favorites of this wave, especially Daredevil and Spider-Man. They're kind of tied for first, and Peter Parker is like a far second. But yeah, these three are my favorite. I do like the whole wave though, so it's a pretty strong wave. But Daredevil and Spider-Man are definitely standouts. And then next up, we have Daredevil alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Moon Knight and the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Captain America. Here we have Daredevil alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Shadowland Daredevil and the Mezco Netflix Daredevil. And I think that Mezco would make a really cool 112 Collective Armored Daredevil. That's a look that they should consider. I think that would be really dope. And then here we have him alongside Shang-Chi and Luke Cage. And then next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Daredevil and the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Bullseye. I still don't have the Hasbro Bullseye. I need to pick it up, but I've always liked this Toy Biz one, so I was never really, you know, compelled to pick up the Hasbro one. I've been completely happy with this Toy Biz version, but I'm gonna have to get that other one of these days. Anyways, and then next up we have Daredevil alongside the Marvel Legends Kingpin Build-A-Figure, and then last but not least, of course, we have Daredevil alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And then for the articulation, he does have a very standard Marvel Legends articulation setup, but I think it's okay. It all works really good. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the head. His head is on a ball joint, so it does move side to side. It's got a little bit of tilt to it. It's got a hinge that allows it to go down to about right there. And then it could come up to right there, which is nice. And then he does have just a typical ab crunch. I do wish that he had that diaphragm cut. I think that would have been awesome. But, you know, as is, this ab crunch is pretty good. Crunches forward a really good amount. Check that out. So that's good. And it comes back to about right there. And then we do have a waist swivel. And then for the arms, we have ball jointed shoulders that do go all the way around. They come up to the side, but only to about right there because his shoulder armor kind of blocks it. But you know, that's no big deal. Let's see here. We could probably go a little bit more. There's a little bit of space in there, so you could kind of push it. Yeah, I mean, that's a decent amount. Not too bad. And then he has upper bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows. They get a good bend. Check that out. So that's pretty good for the elbow. Then he does have a swivel at the wrist and a hinge at the wrist. For the legs, he could pretty much do the splits. He could kick forward to about right there. So that's good. Bring his leg back only to about right there, and then it kind of flares out. But yeah, the forward kick is really good, so that's awesome. And then we have upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee, which, let's see here, gets a pretty good bend. Oh yeah, look at that. That's really good. There's no lower leg swivel, but I'm fine with that because it would have definitely broke up this awesome looking sculpt. Or I don't know, maybe they could have ran it right in there, but you know, it's fine. And then for the feet, they do go forward to about right there. They come up to right here. And then he has rocking ankles. So yeah, like I said, it's a standard Marvel Legends articulation setup, but I think it works. I think he has enough going on. The only thing I would have liked to have seen added to this is a diaphragm cut. But aside from that, I'm very happy with the articulation on him. You could definitely get him into some really good poses. Alright guys, so overall, I really love this figure. I think that Hasbro absolutely killed it with this guy. And to be honest with you, I feel that he's going to get overlooked and overshadowed because of the Spider-Man figure, which is an awesome figure itself. But to be honest with you, I think that he's right up there with them in terms of quality. And they're pretty much tied for my favorite of the wave because they're both incredible figures. But I feel like a lot of people aren't really going to give this one the time of day, which I think is a mistake, because this thing is like on another level for Hasbro, in my opinion. You never see them really go all out like they did with this guy in terms of sculpted details. In most cases, they would just paint all that shit and call it a day. But here, they sculpted everything, and that is just really, really impressive to me. So hopefully we see this type of love thrown into their action figures a lot more going forward, and I just really hope that they continue to move in this direction. Both this and Spider-Man feel like huge leaps forward in terms of quality for Hasbro. In my opinion, they've been killing it the last couple years anyways, but a lot of times they still feel like Hasbro figures, and they still kind of do the same things that they always do, like some shortcuts and things like that. But I feel like with this figure and Spider-Man, they went all out, and I'm just, like I said, I'm very, very impressed with this figure. I knew that I was gonna like it because I like this design, so I was already gonna kind of be into it, but I did not expect to like it as much as I do. I did not expect to like it as much as I like Spider-Man, but you know, here we are. They absolutely killed it, so I'm very happy with it. And they even gave him a really good amount of accessories. They gave him 2 heads, extra hands, extra weapons, so that's awesome. That's a lot of stuff to throw in with a Hasbro figure, you know, so I'm very happy with that. And the articulation is really good on this figure. There is a couple of choices that they made that I would have done differently. Like, I just wish that they added a torso setup similar to Spider-Man, where we had the diaphragm joint and the ab crunch. I think that would have been a little bit better, because with the waist swivel, when you turn them, you're gonna have these crazy cuts at the hips, you know. But it's not a big deal at all. I just really like the ab crunch and diaphragm joint setup, and I just wish they'd kind of make that the standard going forward. But you know, that's just a design choice on this figure, and you know, I'm not mad at it or anything. I just would have preferred the other setup. But as is, man, I absolutely love this figure. They did a great job. So anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.